Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for Harmful Media Messages and Their Impact on Our Children. My name is Simone Knight, and I'm the Marketing Director for Informed Families. I'll be joined in today's webinar with my co-panelist, Peggy Sapp, the CEO of Informed Families, and also a substance abuse prevention expert with 30 years in child substance abuse prevention. We will also be joined by Daniel, her grandson, who is a media student, as well as a past RA in the dorms. He'll be sharing the perspective of what's happening on college campuses when it comes to media, social norms, and our young people. We will be first going over the first 3 slides, and then we'll be joining the webinar in progress where you'll be able to see all 3 of the panelists, including myself. So, who is concerned about media? In short, parents are concerned about media. Right now, media and its way to infiltrate our homes is one of the top concerns of many parents. We have children, teens, tweens who also have access to cell phones, tablets, video game consoles, as well as the usual being their computer and their television. And it's a big worry about all of the media access that kids have, some of which you can see and you can participate in, and some where you're not around them and you have no idea what they may be accessing. So in today's webinar, we're going to talk about what you can do as a parent in order to sort of control that access, and how you can help your child interpret what they're seeing and make some sound decisions. Here's a cute little funny about how we use media today. You have a kid who's on the couch doing a myriad of things through his cell phone, and they all look the same to the outside world, but for him it says, you know, I'm doing all these different things. Are these people blind? Can't they see that I'm doing all these different things on my cell phone? And this is really the reality. So many of us wake up to our cell phones. It's on our nightstand. It's the first thing that we reach for to see who emailed us, or what event is going on, or what the weather is, or what did the news say. So it is really something that's almost become a part of us. Think about when you leave the house. If you realize you've forgotten your cell phone, most of you will return immediately because you realize you don't want to be without it. It is your access to the world, and it's sort of become a part of us, fortunately or unfortunately. Today, average teenager has almost 7.5 hours of daily usage with media. So we're talking about TV, computer, cell phones, those being the primary areas, but they're exposed to passive screens for most of the day, and this may seem like a big time chunk out of the day, but some of it is very interactive and some of it is just there for them to view. Maybe your teen is watching television at the same time as doing their homework, at the same time as even listening to music, and for them this is something that they can do without any problem. But to be aware of all of the access there is, and how much time your young person or your teen or your tween is spending in front of media is really important. And then you can set some guidelines about reducing that slowly, so that perhaps you can make that time more useful in terms of studying or even quality time with the family. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that no TV for children under 2 years old. Now, I am the parent of a 2-year-old child, and I will tell you that it is very difficult to keep television out of the view of your 2-year-old. Sometimes parents need that distraction just so they can run a few errands, or even to do something in the home, cook a meal, and they need to keep that child active. So sometimes they will put their child in front of television for a moment. Some parents make it a habit, but the overall point is that you don't want to have too much exposure to television, especially for a child that's under 2 years old, because of the brain development going on. There's been studies that have been shown that if you compare the brain development of a child who has had a lot of television versus a child that has not, there are less nanas, what they call in the brain, that have been developed in the child that is basically communicating with life through the television screen. Children need to see as well as to do in order to fully experience the world. So you really want to limit the hours that a child will have daily media exposure to, no more than 2. If you can keep television away from your child that's under 2 years old, and really help to control what they're seeing, what they're viewing, and giving them a way to experience the world that's more tactile rather than just watching it through a passive screen. Here are some of the behavioral problems that you can run into for children between the ages of 2.5 and 5 that have had a lot of media hours that they've been in front of the TV for just too much. So behavioral problems, poor social skills, and poor sleep, I think, are some of the ones that probably would come to your mind really quickly. I also want to caution you about some television, especially cartoons, that it's moving too fast. Dr. Peter D. Benedictis, who is a media expectancy and media theory speaker, and also co-author of the media portion of our our parent pilot kit book, which you'll be exposed to later on in this presentation. He tells us that in the 50s, a scene would change every 8 seconds in children's television, and that's nice, slow media. Now, today's television, especially some of the cartoons, the scenes are changing every 2 seconds, every 3 seconds, and what that does is it stimulates a more primitive portion of the brain, which can lead to ADHD. So there is no coincidence that diagnoses for ADHD has increased over the years as exposure to television has increased. Our media and the way we are consuming it and how our children are consuming it is impacting brain development. So you definitely want to keep that in mind when you have your child in front of the television. How fast is the scene changing? How old are they? Are they between these critical ages of 0 to 5? And really be conscious of that. We're about to join the webinar in Already in Progress, where you'll be able to see all 3 of the presenters. I hope you enjoy the rest of the program. Thank you.
We have a fairly strict environment. What would you advise? It sounds like you experimented freshman year and then kind of became the adults for other students. Is that fine? Should I assume that's what's going to happen? Still say no, but assume, cross my fingers and wait?
We have a question from the audience here in the room, and you're a parent, and you're saying that what does Daniel advise as someone who is the acting parent in the dorms when it comes to drinking and behavior, right?
Right. So I think my parents had always set up a very good environment. It was never hypocritical either, where they told me that's how it goes, and I never felt like there was any leeway with that. And when I came in, they knew that they weren't there anymore. So there was an acceptance, and I always had good conversations with my dad about it. It's like, hey, you're gonna do stupid stuff. You got to be smart about it as you go through it, and you just have to know yourself. And there were a few times I think he'd either talk to me, or I'd have been up late for like a whole weekend, and he's like, how you feeling? Or like you just start to see the effects it has. So yeah, I don't know what the answer is, because I think it's a personal initiative that I took, was just to, hey, I'm going to get involved, but I know where my line is. And it's tough when you get into, it's not the drinking that I enjoyed or the drinking that people enjoy, it's the effects it has and the environment you're introduced to, so that I can go out with friends, you can talk to people. It's like a social
social norms.
Yeah, it's about
it's
fun.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Does that help at all, or does that make any
I
sense?
don't think there's a perfect answer. That's the hard part about this. We've always said if we could just give everybody some little perfect answer, that would be it. But it's to keep talking and all.
Right.
And so you notice he's down here at the University of Miami, right? And I live 10 minutes away. So what am I supposed to do, when they're not listening? And I do send him messages. Like he just went up to New Orleans. And all of a sudden, for Mardi Gras, and all of a sudden, I need to send him a message. So I text him. And I guess that's what my message is for each of you as a parent, is to know the facts, send the messages. This is an interesting piece of research. Parents who are too strict, this is, just the way it is, and parents who are too lenient get the worst result. So that puts the best result being in the middle. And being in the middle is not easy. In today's society, but you must know what's going on. And like I sent him a message, and the message I sent him was, about alcohol and what he was doing. And I said, and 1 in 4 people are children of alcoholics. Now he is not, but there is definitely alcoholism in our family's background, and probably everybody's in the world. And if you don't say that to your child, here's the scary thing. We don't know who's going to become addicted. So when you say, they experiment in freshman year and then they straighten up, mostly, but you don't know. So that's why you have an obligation. If your child had heart disease in the family, wouldn't you talk about that? Sure. So that's what we're saying, that talk talk, and do they act like that you're just giving them the greatest thing in the world? No, they're rolling their eyes and they're, you know.
I think, to chime in, that's been probably the best, and I think you can't, it just depends on the kid. My brother goes to an art school and has no interest in that, and that's just how he is, which works well, but, it's something that I was interested in socially, and I think the best thing for me was to have parents that I could be comfortable talking about that to. Very strict in high school, but opened up a little more as like, hey, this is just what's going on, and if you want me to be able to have a conversation with you, you can't be judging me or be too strict or just get on my case about it. So I think that really was the best and the smartest thing for them to do, and the smartest thing for me was to be able to lay it all out there and like, hey, here's how it's going. And I think some of it too is knowing, it was nice when my parents finally admitted, like, hey, I did stupid stuff as well. Because when they're talking to you about it and they act or pretended to that, they've never done anything or that they're perfect, there's
You're not buying it.
disconnect.
Yeah.
You can't buy it or you don't feel
Authentic,
comfortable.
right.
So that doesn't mean they told me everything, but they said, all right, I know what you're going through and I know this is the environment you're in.
I think this is the point where you hope all the brainwashing that you've been doing for the past 16, 18, 20 years is actually now going to come to fruition. People have to realize that there is a line. Some people have impulse control and some people do not. But talking to your child as they're leading up to that and constantly doing it and dropping in once in a while with the message from above on Facebook or on text to say, hey, I'm paying attention, you need to be paying attention too, and don't forget about what the real focus is. Have your fun, but don't cross the line. This is what I believe in. This is what our family wants for you. Do not do this. Remember that. I think those things help. I really do. I'm not going to tell you how long ago I graduated college, but I still remember the experience. And once in a while I did stupid things too, and I had friends that did stupid things, but we did not cross a certain line that would ruin our lives completely. We have a webinar called Listen Up. It was a presentation that we had in November, and I would encourage you all to go onto our website at informedfamilies.org and watch one of our previously recorded webinars, that one in particular, because it focuses on what happens when kids do some of these stupid things that do change their lives completely. And on the next slide, we'll talk about the Listen Up webinar just for a second, and really how some of those things can really permanently affect your life, cancel college for some kids, have them in jail for others. But before we do that, I just want to play something really funny for you as we're talking about alcohol ads. This is an ad from an alcohol company, and I just want you to listen. There's no video, there's just audio, so everyone just listen.
Do you have feelings of inadequacy? Do you suffer from shyness? Do you sometimes wish you were more assertive? If you answered yes to any of these questions, ask your doctor or pharmacist about tequila. Tequila is the safe, natural way to feel better and more confident about yourself and your actions. Tequila can help ease you out of your shyness and let you tell the world that you're ready and willing to do just about anything. You'll notice the benefits of tequila almost immediately, and with a regimen of regular doses, you can overcome any obstacles that prevent you from living the life you want to live. Shyness and awkwardness will be a thing of the past, and you'll discover many talents you never knew you had. Stop hiding and start living with tequila. Tequila may not be right for everyone. Women who are pregnant or nursing should not use tequila. However, women who wouldn't mind nursing or becoming pregnant are encouraged to try it. Side effects may include dizziness, nausea, vomiting, incarceration, erotic lustfulness, loss of motor control, loss of clothing, loss of money, loss of virginity, delusions of grandeur, table dancing, headache, dehydration, dry mouth, and a desire to sing karaoke and play all-night rounds of strip poker, truth or dare, and naked twister. Warning, the consumption of alcohol may make you think you're whispering when you're not. It's a major factor in dancing like a retard. May cause you to tell your friends over and over again that you're in love with them. Also may cause you to think you can sing. Alcohol may lead you to believe that ex-lovers are really dying for you to telephone them at 4 in the morning. Alcohol may make you think you can logically converse with members of the opposite sex without spitting. It may create the illusion that you are tougher, smarter, faster, and better looking than most people. And it may lead you to think people are laughing with you. Alcohol may cause pregnancy, and it also may be a major factor in getting your ass kicked. So what are you waiting for? Stop hiding and start living with tequila.
It's not a real ad, that's a parody, but the thing was that they asked, they said, what if they sold alcohol by telling the truth? And we're all laughing because we know that's the truth. It's really the truth. So
Is
just
that on Facebook, or how do we get
YouTube.
that?
Well, we got this from Dr. Peter D. Benedettis, our media literacy expert, and also one of the authors in our Parent Pilot Kit. This is one of the things that we talk about when we do the parent peer group training, and this ad is just hilarious. It reminds us all of the prescription drug ads when they give you all the side effects at the end.
Yeah.
Basically, this is what's happened with this alcohol ad.
And it is up on YouTube.
It is hilarious.
It's too good. It's like anything else has got to spread. So we need to get more people listening to that, because that's a truthful ad. And one thing with the advertisement, and this is what I really want to press home to you all, the only thing more powerful than advertising is people and word of mouth. That will overcome advertising. That trumps.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have $1 billion or
yeah, we don't have $1 billion right now. But also, don't forget parenting. We have our banner up behind us. Parents are the number one reason why kids say they succeed in school and that they don't do drugs. That is truthful. So be the number one influence in your child's life. They are listening, even though it looks like they're not. So,
yeah, right.
So now let's go back to Listen Up. I mentioned that earlier. One fact that I want to talk about from the Listen Up presentation, when you go back to our site and watch the previously recorded webinar, you'll see this information, which is about fake IDs, which often goes with alcohol, binge drinking, partying all night, doing something stupid. Possession of counterfeit license is a third-degree felony, 5 years state prison. Now, guess what? Even if you are just arrested and not, if you were just brought in and not necessarily convicted, you still have to put that down on many college applications that you were arrested but maybe non-adjudicated or something like that, which can definitely cancel college for a lot of children. So fake IDs are not necessarily a rite of passage, as many people think. Oh, everyone has a fake ID. It's not a big deal. Now with the Patriot Act, it is a very big deal. Also, we have the Safe Home, Safe Parties campaign, which is coming up now in March. That's on our homepage, and this is all about tips that parents can have when their child is hosting or attending a party. We have prom coming, graduation, spring fling, all types of celebrations where kids can get into trouble and definitely overdo it and have underage drinking. So do check out the Safe Home, Safe Parties campaign that you can access on our homepage. And if you take the pledge for setting guidelines and talking to your children, you can win a $50 gift card. So we'll talk more about that at the end.
And I just want to point out some of these laws and rules and why you need to know them. I just heard, someone telling someone, because fake IDs have been going on since back in my time, if you can believe it. I mean, so that becomes a norm, a social norming, and so you think it's just okay. Here's the sad thing. It's not enforced across the board, but if your child just happens to be the unfortunate one they're going to decide to make an example out of, this is what they face. Mm-hmm. And that's the heartbreak that you don't want to be in. If you say, well, everybody's doing it, that may be true, but if the everybody who gets caught is your child and ends up with that's a lot to think about.
It's devastation to your family. Mm-hmm. And of course, if you have a party at your home and provide alcohol and something happens, someone gets into an accident, you are held liable for that because you had alcohol at a party with underage kids. So losing your home, losing a lot can come from that. Number 4, things that parents need to know: set rules and be consistent. 53% of all 8 to 18-year-olds said that their family had no rules in watching TV. So, and the other half, 47%, that they do. So, and of course, the ones that do, are the rules even being enforced? So what does that really mean, rules about watching TV?
If I had to say, and I tell this to Simone, we were talking about the 2-year-old all the way up to this one. Why am I sitting here in the middle? No, here's the thing. Don't make rules you're not going to enforce. It's just going to frustrate you and them too, because then they know, and they know your hot button. Yeah, she just said that. She's not doing anything about it, right? So think about that. Don't have a whole slew of rules, but have some simple ways. And so we have for you a tool. I have to tell you, this tool is designed by my husband, an airline captain, because again, that whole idea is don't say it if you're not going to enforce it. So the thing is, you write it down. What's the rule? I don't care if you're going to let them watch 2 hours of TV or 14 hours of TV. Decide what it is with the child. Write it down. Why are you going to write it down? Because if you don't write it down, what do they say? Nuh-uh. Nobody told me. I mean, have you not heard that? Come on. That's what they say. So you have to write all these things down, and then you post them up on your bulletin board. So you can stop talking about the same stuff over and over. That's what a teenager does. A teenager just wears you down.
It's not just a teenager.
No,
that's also my 2-year-old. She's already started.
I can't just do that. Yeah. So you just point to what we decided on. We're not telling you that there's an absolute correct answer, but we're telling you you need to use the tool and you need to put it up and you need to go back and look at it. So we'll share that with you later and provide it to people who are on the webinar, because it's a very helpful, it's in the Parent Pilot Kit. But what I'm discovering is we're just all so busy that you don't get around to, it's like the Bible, all the rules are there, everything you ever needed to know, right? But you're not reading it.
Right.
So just read the rules chart. We're going to get that for you, use it, put it up. You know.
And as Peggy mentioned, it is part of the Parent Pilot Kit, which you can purchase online. We have that in there, the chore chart, and other great tools that you can have as part of the Parent Pilot Kit that you can just stick out and put up. Peggy has a great story about how her husband used the rules and would go around. Oh no, for chores actually. You have the clipboard.
It's for anything. It's for anything.
Talk about that with the clipboard, because I just think it's great.
I know that one too.
I know
Said that
that.
one a few times.
Well, again, he was sort of a man of few words about these things. Once these things were done, he didn't really yammer on about it, but he had it on a clipboard about chores and things they were going to do, and he just walked and would, yes, they did or they didn't. And so at the end of the week, when you're going to have a discussion, and it's a good idea to have a family discussion. You either did this or you didn't do this. Then that was it.
And it was tied to the allowance money.
They do, and there are some people that say that's, allowance and chores don't go together. That's up to your family. For our family, they went together, and it was important that you do that. That you're consistent. And I have to tell you, it was a wonderful thing, because see, I came from a social work liberal kind of background, and I just thought we were going to have the Democratic family, and he came from the Naval Academy, and he was going to just tell them how it was. So we finally merged. See that strong thing with the soft thing, you merge. But these charts were the best thing that ever happened, because otherwise you just are in this same endless conversation with your children. So I highly encourage Neil Sapp's charts.
And as Peggy was saying, number 4, set rules and be consistent. Consistency is the key. I think we probably all realize that children need boundaries, they need consistency, and that's where you're going to start to get those results. So utilizing the rules chart will help that happen. It will make it visible, and that there's no argument about what the rules are they not or are not. They're posted right there. So number 5, video games, fun or harmful. So there is a place in our lives for video games. Video games, you can be used for education. My child uses apps on my iPad for lots of things, for reading, letters, counting, whatever. There is a time and a place for it, but then there's also a place where it can become harmful, where your child is up till 2 o'clock in the morning, or you are up till 2 o'clock in the morning, adults, playing these video games. Some of them are very violent. They have the advisory sticker on there for parents for extreme violence and all of that, mature content. And those stickers really need to be paid attention to. There are some of these games that you can get for PlayStation, Xbox, wherever, that will allow you to shoot a police officer, walk over, urinate on them, and then set them on fire. And I'm not making that up. That's really a game. So you've got to pay attention, because some of these more popular games are very violent, and they can have adverse effect on your child, and you have to pay attention and figure out whether or not whether or not your child is ready for that sort of access.
Go on.
Who's ever ready for that? That's one of the comments in the room. Okay, video games, billion-dollar industry, of course. Here's some of the side effects of having too much video game exposure. Poor social skills, of course, because you're basically sitting in the dark all day playing these games. Of course, time away from your family, low grades because you're not studying when you're supposed to be studying, and exercising less, and then aggressive thoughts. I think we can probably come up with those things off the top of our heads. I'm sure we may even, unfortunately, know some people that may be suffering from these. So So think about what you have in your home for video game usage. Now, of course, we're not villainizing video games, because you can have a Friday night fun night with your family for video games, for playing something that's appropriate, and that's also constructive. It's definitely spending time together. Number 6, the World Wide Web. The web that we cannot get away from. People used to pass notes in class. Now we have Facebook with over 500 million users. If Facebook was a country, it would be the 3rd largest country in the world, behind India and China. Isn't that interesting? The country of Facebook. So it's something that is not going away. I think at some point some people may have thought that this is just a passing fad, but social media is here to stay, and it is definitely a part of our lives. And again, it does have a time and place, but you have so many people sharing very personal information on social media without any recognition of personal privacy. There are people who have been robbed based on what they've posted on Facebook. So think about that and have a conversation with your child about what they're posting. Also, when you're searching for employment, employers will routinely Google you, and they will also look through Facebook and Twitter to see what your posts and what your social media activity is like. Yes, he's nodding. Colleges will also do that.
Well, just recently, Daniel did semester at sea, and he came back with all these great exotic costumes and things. So he's pasting himself all over the TV with these exotic costumes, funny looks. And I said, now that you're getting ready to, apply for jobs, you might want to rethink the outfits.
Well, let me defend myself. A lot of these photos, and I guess what's a little scary about Facebook is that people can post on your behalf without permission. So a lot of those photos that were inappropriate and that I know should not be on Facebook get posted by other people.
You mean that they tagged you in a photo?
Correct.
Inappropriate. They just
Yeah.
were not like something
Not
you'd want.
professional
They
or-
were not professional looking.
But you can also set your Facebook profile that people cannot tag you in a photo.
Correct. So
So
I mean,
the
I
privacy
have
settings are very important on Facebook.
since then changed. And if we're talking more about the web, I think the topics that are always brought up are TV and advertising and video games. And I think it's been a little weird for me watching just the amount and how accessible the web is now, just through laptops and through just mobile devices and phones. And I think if anything, there's a lot of benefits to it, where you can connect and you can distribute information easily, and just it's amazing, right? The resources are all there, but some of the scary parts are that it is that extra seductive quality where instead of now you're consuming the content either from video games or from advertisements, you are engaging with it. And I think Facebook or any other social media, I know that my sister's already on, who's 12, Tumblr, Instagram, it's scary because it becomes an extension of yourself, which is nice, but it also becomes a way to advertise yourself. And hey, at least in college and high school, look what I'm doing, look at all the fun I'm having, whether that be drinking or whether that be partying. And it was something that I know my sister got the little iPod, you're not necessarily aware of, because you'd think, all right, this is just for music or this is that, but everything's advancing so quickly and kids are so literate with it that they can really do anything. And I finally did. She had the Instagram, and I called my parents. I felt like the worst older brother. And I'm like, hey, I just don't know if it's appropriate right now. And because you do see kids who, part of it is the inclusion piece, where your friends, your followers, it's just like, what can I do to bolster my online reputation? So I don't know, I think that is something in addition to video games and just TV monitoring to be aware of, and could be potentially more dangerous when you're talking about, my 12-year-old sister who has, people are weird. There were people following her who didn't know her, and I had that conversation with her. And, it's, as a 12-year-old, she's not going to be aware of that, but it's something.
So it's interesting, the
considerate of.
intergenerational communication
Right.
that we need to do all the time.
And monitoring.
Think even about Facebook and the things you post on Facebook. I mean, do you ever really post a bad picture of yourself and think, oh, I'm just having a rotten day? No, it's like fantasy world, everything, oh, our family's so wonderful, everything we do is great. Come on.
Right.
That's not reality. But even on Facebook, we try to portray that. And sometimes I think that that's a driver of alcohol and drugs, because none of us have it all.
Right.
None of us have, that's not life. Life is learning to deal with the things that you have to face, and they're not always pleasant.
You know, on that note, recently, thank you, Melby, recently in the media, the Miami Herald had an article about someone who created a website of a girl, naked, from photos that were just posted online. So you have to really be careful and really talk to your children about what they're sharing, privacy settings, what privacy really means, and that the internet is forever. Once it is posted, it is out there for general consumption and never really goes away. So that's really, really important. And become a Facebook friend and Twitter follower of your child if they do have a social media page, so that you are aware of what's being posted out there too. And perhaps even cyberbullying. That's another thing too that you need to be aware of and see if your child is being bullied. We have to move forward because we're already about 5 minutes to. Here's a top 10, part of the top 10 list. This is number 7, internet acronyms and mobile acronyms that you need to be aware of. And for those of you that are asking about whether or not the slides of this presentation will be available for download, the answer is yes. After every presentation, the video recorded webinar is available on our website a week after, and you can get the download of the presentation as well as the certificate of attendance. So this list of internet acronyms is really key to understand some of this language that may be coded into text messages from your child. Number 8, what teens will admit, more than half of all American youth from age 12 to 17 use online social media sites. I think we're not really surprised about that. 62% of them do things online that they wouldn't want to tell their parents, and 64% of teens post content which share personal information. I mean, just something as simple as taking a photo in front of your house, you could be broadcasting your exact location. Phones have GPS locations on pictures where it's called geotagging. You need to turn that off on your phone and turn it off on your child's phone so that whenever you take a picture and you post it someplace, it's not automatically broadcasting your coordinates, your GPS coordinates. So just something simple as that. Look at the phone. There's a lot of settings in there. I just got this phone and I was just completely amazed of all the stuff in there that it can track your location. So going down to number 9, internet safety tips. I think we've been talking about this. Make sure you know your child's friend list. Do they ever get messages from strangers? How do they handle them? You really got to ask these tough questions with your children to see what's really going on. We don't let some random 20-year-old grown man come into the bedroom of our 15-year-old teen to talk to them all night about sex and God knows what. So why do you let them do it on the internet? That's what they're doing. They're taking this, the iPad, the laptop, the Xbox that has internet access into their bedrooms, and you are not seeing everything that's happening. So by letting that internet in there without any supervision, you are letting some random stranger into your home.
And one of the things I want to talk to you about, all of these lists that we give you are the nine safety tips or questions. You need to sort of learn them, but don't go home today and start with your child. What about this question? Number 4, and what about this? This is all about relationship building. You got to wait till you're driving down the road, and then you say, well, what about such and such? And you maybe don't even have to give a whole big comment on it right then. So that's learning how to use the information so you can create that dance that keeps you connected with your child.
And that time that you're chauffeuring your child around is a great time to have these kinds of conversations. What happened today? What was the best thing? What was the worst thing? Or, did you see this commercial? What do you think about that? Or how was this movie? And, was there anything in there we should talk about? Those types of open questions. And I think you're really definitely right on, Peggy, about just having the conversation at the apropos moment when you see something happening and not just running home to bombard them with all that you've learned today.
Well, yeah, and the other thing on that is they're going to bombard you when you are least expecting it. You are not prepared. And so please remember, you can say, I can't talk about this right now. I'll get right back to you. And of course they'll keep pushing you, but that's your boundary. You say after dinner or at 7 o'clock, but don't feel like you have to answer something you're not ready to answer. You are the parent.
Exactly. You have the power. There's some websites here that you can use to educate yourself. And the last thing, it's not just them. It's us too. The parents are consumed by technology as well, and this is a great cartoon showing a mom on the beach with her Bluetooth earpiece, laptop on the nice umbrella. Meanwhile, there's a shark attacking some people in the water, but she's completely consumed and basically tuned out to what's going on. So it's not just them, it's us too. Let's also pay attention to when it's appropriate to be on the phone, the laptop, the whatever, and when it's time to give some me time, some face time to your children. Thank you all so much for joining today from across the country. We appreciate it. We hope to see you next month on our March webinar, which is on March 19th, all about social norms. And that we'll be getting into more detail about what happens during prom and graduation and celebrations and what we can really do to affect the social norms in our own home and sort of keep some of these media messages at bay. So that's on March 19th, and you can register for that now. So thank you again for joining us. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.